Thanks for staying with us. Before we go to our hot topic, we have our guest with us. He is Mr. Chibuzor Melah. He's the head partnership Palmpay. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
We hear Palmpay, our antenna goes up because fintech companies are kind of taking over. You know, so, and I know you're here because you probably want to tell us more about Palmpay. So give us an idea about Palmpay.
So Palmpay, we pride ourselves as the fastest growing fintech in Nigeria. And that's evident in the numbers that we've churned out within the last 5 years that we started our operations. So far, we have recorded over 30 million users across our platform.
30 million.
Yeah.
And then are rolling.
And we are home to about 1.1 million businesses now in Nigeria. And I mean, that number keeps growing. By the end of the year, we hope to have crossed over 2 million, where we've empowered businesses to be able to accept payments. We've also enabled some businesses to also be able to efficiently give out cash, become the mini ATM on the streets.
Fantastic.
Okay, so tell us about the milestones you have recorded in this wallet and business platforms.
Okay, so Palmpay started operations in 2019 when we got our license from the central bank as a licensed mobile money operator. And then in 2020, we officially rolled out our first financial product in the Nigerian market. And then in 2021, we got our first, we raised our first seed funding of over $140 million. We also launched our bills payment within that same year. And then recorded, in 2022, we recorded 10 million users across our platform. And then from that, in that same 2022, we also rolled our operations from Nigeria to Ghana. And then in 2023, what we've also done is we launched our savings platform. In 2023, in September 2023 specifically, we recorded over 30 million users and 1.1 million businesses that we've onboarded. And then in 2024, we were recognized by GSMA as in their State of Industry reports as a key player in Africa driving mobile money operations, right? And then we also were recognized by CNBC and Statista as the top 250 fintechs in the world globally. And just 9 fintechs were captured in this report. And it's also worthy to know that we're just 3 from Nigeria that are also captured in this report as well.
I wanted to say, some people say that fintechs are, because of fintechs, a lot of fraud is happening. What would you say about that?
I would say it's because of fintechs that fraud have happened, right? What has happened is we've seen an increase in the adoption of digital payments. Now, with that adoption, right, because we've started going into new markets, right? You begin to see new threats to fraud, right, compared to the way it used to happen before. So we've seen new threats to fraud. So at first I said the growth in terms of digital adoption. Secondly is also limited awareness. Right, so with the new markets we're going into, and just not the fintechs alone, even the banks, right? There's limited awareness to customers not understanding what we should watch out for phishing sites, for social engineering and the likes. I also advocate to the economic condition, right? So the more that we continue to experience economic hardship, what happens is that more and more customers are prone to fraud scheme. So you have people see, for example, you hear that, oh, if you put your money here, you could double it by 20% without first asking certain questions, right? People become vulnerable to doing such things, right? But I won't, what has also happened is also worthy to note that the fintechs, the banks are also learning the new trends. What we've also seen is huge investment in terms of improving KYC, improving our cybersecurity, improving deploying fraud. I mean, in Palmpay, for example, we've improved tremendously know your customer, right? We've also invested heavily in our fraud detection. Now we're deploying behavioral fraud monitoring solution that monitors users as they use. And then when there's that spike in terms of transaction, why it raises an alarm to say what's happening here. Is this a genuine transaction or has something changed? Right. We're also raising awareness because it can, no matter how you have deployed efficient solution, if that awareness is not there, people will continue to fall for fraud trends. And then, I mean, in this year, the CBN has also, CBN and law enforcement have also helped tremendously. We've seen they've been effective in terms of the monitoring, in terms of rolling out policies to govern the way that fintechs and banks operate in this year.
Okay, could you tell us about the new USSD service that you just rolled out, and how does this benefit users?
Okay, so we recently launched our USSD star 861. For us, it's a great achievement because it helps us to go into new frontiers. In the last 5 years, we achieved our numbers leveraging purely digital mobile apps. But now we're now going into the feature phones. We want to be able to get to the last mile. We want to be able to get to those rural communities, have them be able to transact efficiently and effectively. A lot of persons have not embraced financial product because it's been very cumbersome. But what we've been known for is to demystify payments. We've been able to simplify how you're able to make payments from person to person, how you're able to pay your bills. I mean, if you've never tried paying your bill on Palmpay, I think you should, because when you're buying airtime, you don't need to pray, you don't need to hold your breath. If you're paying for discos, even as we're all in bad A now, you don't need to hold your breath. You're almost certain that you will get your token. Right, and I mean, you
Really?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't want
Anybody
to.
can pay. Anybody.
Anybody.
Can use it.
Well, you have to. With our USSD now, it means you can just with any phone you can dial. But if you're not a Palmpay user, then you probably need to get onboarded as a Palmpay user to be able to do that. But what is also worthy to note is that what we're driving on our USSD is accessibility, convenience in terms of payments, and then we want to be able to reach the last mile. Whether irrespective of the kind of device you're using, you're able to make payments efficiently.
Fantastic. That's interesting. So, I mean, I like that. I like you giving us some of the benefits of this. Are there any other benefits that that the USSD can provide for us?
I think I missed one part: security. So, I mean, with getting to new markets, there's also then talk about security, right? To be able to protect these new users from fraud. So, we're also deploying in terms of the behavioral monitoring solution that we've deployed to the USSD to be able to also monitor what's happening there. And I mean, the CBN has also put limits in terms of transaction amounts that you're able to do to also reduce the exposures to fraud. What we're also doing is to improve KYC, right? So that
What is KYC?
know your customer. So as small as your tier 1, you are able to at least use your NIN. So at least we know one of the major problems is who is that person that perpetrated that fraud. So right now with NIN, you're able to know, okay, this is the owner of this account. So once you're on board with our USSD, we're able to identify you as Chibuzor or as whoever you are using that platform.
You also mentioned something briefly. You talked about for all kinds of devices, you're trying to make sure that anyone can use the USSD service. So even if you don't have a smartphone, is this something that you're working on? Can you elaborate on that, please? So
with our USSD, right, you don't need a smartphone anymore. Okay. If you don't, I mean, with a feature phone, with on the street they call it Palasa. With a Palasa phone, you are able to transact efficiently. I mean, today, if you look at the vulcanizers, the tomato seller, they all have Palmpay accounts, right? So what happens to that tomato seller that doesn't have a smartphone? How should I make payments? So with that, all you need to do is just dial star 861. You get your account number, and you're ready to receive payments. I mean, you could get transfer from any bank to that Palmpay account. You get your alert real time, and where you need to move money seamlessly, you are able to move money. And the bill payment that every of our users have enjoyed on our platform, right? You can also make such payments via that USSD with your kind of phone.
So let's talk about security for those people. You know, most of them are not. To use a smartphone means that you're a bit smarter.
Yeah.
And so the fish seller, for instance, who has a USSD account can be prone to fraud as well because they can just leave the Palasa phone somewhere. What are the security features to ensure that they alone can access their account via that USSD?
Okay, so there's one part, right? I mean, when you dial your USSD, you're expected to create your PIN, right? And so one thing you also know is that Palmpay or no other user will ever call you to ask for that PIN, right? So as much as you secure that PIN, right, your account is secured, your transactions are secured, right? In addition to that, because it's it rides on the USSD platform, right? What we've also done is to cap the kind of transactions that you can do. So per transaction, you're not able to do more than 20,000 naira at a time, right? And then there's also limits in terms of the number of transactions you can do in a day. So it also limits the exposure that you can also get from such platform.
You know, one of the things that people fear fintechs for is they don't have office. Because I was praising a fintech the other day, and then, they don't have office, so I said, so please enlighten people. This is what the normal banks used to tell us, no, don't follow fintech.
They don't
follow
have
us.
office.
We have office. Do you have office?
I mean, our office, we have a customer-facing office at number 20 Okwebi, right? And then we also created offices across the 36 states in Nigeria, where you are able to come there physically to lay complaints. However, on our app alone, right, you don't necessarily even need to come. If you have a chargeback and you want to raise a chargeback, you can do that on our app. The agents that you see are mini branches of Palmpay. So as long as you are branded a Palmpay, you are a mini branch, right? It shouldn't be, I mean, today, the banks have not gone everywhere. It's not about building. I mean, today we are talking about rising costs. We're talking about the cost of paying NEPA bill, the cost of diesel. So as much as possible, we need to reduce that cost. However, be available to the customers.
So how do you help arrest, for instance, if a lien had been placed on an account, how do you help arrest the accused, for instance, since you don't have office?
No, so I mean, it's in collaboration with the law enforcement. So today, for example, we're also doing address verification, right? So we know our customers, we know where they stay. And where the law enforcement or the court has said, provide this information, we always comply.
We have to wrap up with you, but so somebody's listening to you right now, they want to join Palmpay. What's the first step? What do they do? Is there a number they can call?
So two ways, right? I mean, you can dial *861# follow the prompt, and you get a Palmpay account. Alternatively, you can go to iOS or Google Play Store, search for Palmpay, and you download our app.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chibuzor. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
That is all we can take on this segment. When we come back, we'll move to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.